I don't know, but hi everybody. It's Sally and Anita, and our show will begin in the next 10 seconds. Hi there.
Hi, everyone. We are live. Thank you so very much for joining us today on the DnA Authority. That's Dolly Cortez, and I'm Anita Myers.
Oh man, I think it's gonna be one of those days. Everybody will be right back. Welcome. Anita, why is it that every single time we are going to start our show, we cannot help but start giggling and laughing and being goofy?
Because you are not ready. You know what? It happens. Every day is a different day. Every week is a different week. And even me right now, as I'm talking, I am just trying to get my information handy because with this wonderful phone that we have that's called a smartphone,
Yes.
it sometimes makes me really stupid because I can't operate this thing the way I want to. Do you all go through that?
You know what? It's actually funny, yeah, because you do call it a smartphone, but it makes us feel dumb. I agree with you there. It really does. There's so many different gadgets and look at this and how do you do this and how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. Does it make a phone call?
You know what's so sad about that, actually, even though we're totally digressing from subject, is the fact that, we don't know our friends' phone numbers. We don't. When we were younger, all of us, I bet all of you, anyone who's watching right now, you probably still remember your phone number, the actual phone number, when you were growing up, your friends' phone numbers, maybe several of your friends' phone numbers, your work number. You remembered it because you had to. You had to remember those numbers, those digits. Imagine how incredible our brain was. We had to know all those numbers by heart, especially all you men out there. You know all the ladies' phone numbers that you're talking to. You know what I mean? But here we are now that, like, if my husband says, hey, what's Dolly's number? I'm like, I don't know. It's Dolly. Or
it's J-Lo.
But yeah, that's just one of those things where it's very smart about some things, but it does have us readjusting the way that we act. And now it's like, I don't know. I don't even know my daughter's number. I don't know
what? I have to admit, I have to look up my kids' numbers.
Yeah.
I do. And I mean, it's like that's just dumb.
I should really know that. I should really know my daughter's number now that I'm saying it and I'm starting to feel this feeling in my chest. Like, you should really know your daughter's number.
Well, the good thing is that you know where they live.
I better.
At least we have that going for us.
Right. So listen, let me just say hi to everybody out there because we got started on, I don't even know what track that was, but
that was a wackadoodle track.
This is the DnA Authority. This is a show that's designed to get your mind, your beautiful mind, to use all the powers within you while you're embracing all of the powerful resources around you. That's why we designed this show, so that we could bring people to you. We could also bring the information that we know to you. And today is a very great day because we are talking about the power of writing. Dolly knows a thing or two about that, doesn't she?
A little bit, and so do you.
My writing is a discovery, and I'll definitely talk about my viewpoints on it. You are someone who that's really about your career in the world of seeing people's writing translating what they're trying to say into words, and then eventually getting it to a published place, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But tell me your journey in writing. You may have shared it in other shows, but sometimes this is the first one for everybody. So
Yeah.
tell us about it.
I'll tell you this, first of all.
Yeah.
I absolutely love what I do. And I love what I do because
I would have never imagined that. I'm just kidding.
no, I mean I really do.
I know you are always at the top of the mountains. That image of like the person with their hands in the air, and it's like all I see is like this caption, like "I love what I do."
I feel that I'm like really lucky. You know how those people, well, many people, millions of people wake up every morning unhappy about their careers. They don't like their jobs. I am one of those fortunate ones that love what I do. And the reason why I love what I do is because I really, truly believe that I'm making a difference in people's lives. When I sit with someone, look, I'm so excited. I just mentioned announced to the group that I just published one of the books from one of the authors. And this story is one of the ladies that was kidnapped. So that is a very powerful book. And
let's back up. Let's back that truck up for a little bit. Boop,
yeah.
boop, boop. Okay, so here we are. You just said something that a lot of people have no idea what you're talking about. Unless they are following us every single show, let's just say that they're just share that again. Can you just please say what you just said? Like what happened? What's that story about? What
happened? So I'll back up even a little bit more, a few more steps. I'll go back
to the beginning. We have time.
I guess you know what? You're absolutely right. So this is the deal, everybody. So my company, Rose Gold Publishing, with my company, my mission with my company is to specifically help individuals write to heal from their past traumatic experiences. So I personally started writing and became a published author back in 2015. And in 2017, I decided that I needed to continue to write. And it was truly my healing journey. And I ended up writing 3 books in 1 year between 2017 and 2018. And pretty much I wrote my trilogy. It was something that I needed to do, something that I felt it was a way for me to vent into my pages, so moving forward from becoming a published author 4 times, I decided that I wanted to launch my own company, and that's where Rose Gold Publishing came in. And now my focus is to help individuals write to heal from their past traumatic experiences so their voices can be heard. And for me, it's so powerful. And I feel absolutely blessed and fortunate and lucky and honored. I mean, you could roll it all into a ball of transformation, because I just think it's so awesome that so many individuals trust me to be able to help them publish their stories. So with what Anita just kind of like had me back up a minute, Anita, you said, back up. What do you just think about what did you just say? Well, today I hit publish, the publish button for one of my authors, which I'm very proud of, because she shared her story of being kidnapped. And, the stories that I hear are not just the everyday, stories. I listen to stories about sexual abuse, domestic violence, death, kidnapping, bullying.
I mean, just think about the fact that it's like, oh yeah, I'm a published author. Oh really? What did you write? Oh, I was kidnapped. It's not like your everyday thing. And to be able, and I know you as a publisher, you're a unique publisher. You're not like the type of publisher that many people always think of, like Simon and Schuster, those bigger names. You're somebody who really takes their heart and carries it through the process, because some of these topics are very difficult to talk about. Just imagine that, you have whether you have a really incredible, amazing story, or you have a really sad story or a scary story to share, and it's a true story.
Right.
Where do you begin and how do you say it? And so sometimes you've seen it yourself, Dolly, where someone begins to talk and then they start to cry, or they start to get angry, or they start to feel these really bad feelings that they buried it. They buried it in a place that they don't have to look at it for as long as they can. And now they're thinking, I really think I need to talk about this, because it's going to help me, and it probably will help other people, because kidnapping, it's that this subject itself it seems unheard of, because you tend to think, not in my backyard, it won't happen in my world. And yet things like this are happening all over the world for so many different types of reasons. And the damage that's done, or that can be done, is very serious. So after the case of being kidnapped, being rescued, having those, I mean, all of that's traumatic, all of it. So now you've got to heal. You've got to heal so you can talk about it. So someone else that may have gone through that doesn't know how to heal, that doesn't know what to do, now they have a chance to, take on that opportunity and get better.
You know what? And I'll tell you this. I can honestly tell you that I feel so honored to be able to be trusted with that, because, I'm constantly being asked, do these stories get to you?
Yeah.
How do you handle that? They're so emotional. And I mean, I can honestly say that my tears,
because you called me, Anita, I just can't believe it. How could they do that to this beautiful mother? How could they do that? And then I gotta get a beer. I'll be right back.
I've had my moments.
Yeah, just not all the time, but every once in a while,
but I mean, at the same time, it's like, I was just saying, my tears are in those books too.
Yeah.
Because I put my heart and soul into them. So
yeah, I think that's the best part of you, though. I think that's the best part of you, quite frankly. I'm just going to give you a little praise on just a little bit. I know it could go on, but when you have a troubled moment and you want to share that troubled moment with somebody, you need that person to be able to catch it and hold on to it and say, I get you. Even if you don't understand it, to have someone say, I'm listening to you, I hear you, and I feel for you. They might not have the absolute empathy for the situation, but to have someone receive the information is really key, and then they can keep going. But normally when you have these very detailed, difficult subjects, not everyone knows how to handle something like that. So you do a very nice job where you can be maternal where that is required, or you could be the best friend where that's required, in terms of, that sense of I got your back, you're going to be all right. I think that's good.
I appreciate you saying that. And I really do feel that. I really feel like, you know what? And it may sound crazy to some, especially because if you see what I see and hear what I hear every single day, every single week, it's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, from listening about murder, about suicide, about overdose, about just people dying, it's a sad moment. It can be. It can be very difficult, and I just feel I'm grateful that I'm able to help people and walk them through it, and lift them from that space that they find themselves in. And it's all really comes down to writing, because for me, writing is healing, and it is the best. It is, in my opinion, the best tool that you can possibly use in order for you to get all that garbage, all that gunk that's inside of you out, so that you can actually, get rid of it from being inside of your body, so it can, instead of it hurting you, it empowers you.
Yeah. And, I'm always thinking about, you are someone who is skilled in your writing because you've written so many books already, and you're looking at people's writing. But I'm thinking about the viewers right now that might be watching now or later on, that if you have a story to tell and you think, oh, well, I can't write, my handwriting sucks, Anita, I'm not writing. Okay, your handwriting, you're allowed to have handwriting suck. It's okay. But what you could do is you could just get on your phone and open up an application of some kind of notes application and just start typing with your thumb. Just use the easiest way that you communicate with people nowadays. Use your cell phone and just start, typing out what you feel. You can also hit the record button, and now you've got that voice to text option. I mean, this is what's so great about technology. Things that you can't do, you have an opportunity to still do it, just in a different way. And just kind of share the story as you go. And listen, no matter what your story is, there is someone out there that would really like to listen to it, that really might need to listen to it, that might get inspired by it or heal from it. So it's worth it. And I think that, we were looking it up earlier today, just kind of trying to see, when it comes down to writing, there's so many reasons why writing is very good. And when we say writing, it doesn't have to necessarily mean writing with a pencil or pen or what have you. It can mean typing. It's just one way. As long as you can get you have an energy, that's in your system that has you feeling everything you feel and thinking everything you think. And now you got to take that energy and convert that into words. What words in your vocabulary will you pluck out of your brain and use to kind of convey the message? And then you send that message, you deliver the message. So how do we deliver it? We could do it on our phone. We could do it through the paper. We could send, remember the days when we used to send notes in school? Like those days are gone.
Or handwritten letters to friends.
Handwritten letters. You can still bring that back, retro it. I mean, my daughter's writing me notes in the house, which is really great because I homeschool and I give her some activities to do. And honestly, I got to tell you, if you do have decent handwriting and you can write a note, you should write a note to somebody. Write a note to us.
I like
Now. It'd be great. I would love it. But, they were saying, one of the things that we were reading was writing is critical.
Yep.
Critical, essential job skill. Believe it or not. I know we've got technology. We still got to convey a message across. So they say, in some of the things that we were reading, that it's actually a critical, essential job skill. So get better at writing and conveying your message so that someone else that picks up, whether it's on a board, whether it's through an email to your company, whether you have to share directions on how to do something, you want to be able to be clear in saying what you have to say and get that message across. Right, Dolly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, you absolutely have to. I mean, you know what? The message is so critical to what you're sharing, period. If your message is not clear, you're going to lose the reader. You're going to lose the audience. Yeah. So, and we know that. And you yourself, you're an author, a 2-time author. And I just
so crazy. That's so crazy. Just take a minute on that. That's, I needed a minute. Like, that's not even a minute. That was like 20 seconds. I can't get over it. That, I wonder if we could talk to people who have written many books, written anything, blogging, people that are online, people that are, they're doing these great things, sharing information all day long, articles and whatnot, where it all began. Because for me, I remember where it began, and it was just kind of accidental. I just got on Facebook for the first time in my life. And the place that I was in my life, though on the outside seemed just fine, on the inside, I didn't have anyone to talk to. Mm-hmm. The friends I had shifted. Friends sometimes shift. They're gone. They've moved away, or they're busy with things. Like the kind of circle of friends I had at the time, they weren't people that I would share my joys with. I would normally share my joys with my mom. Because when you have a child, you share with certain people a little bit more than you share with the others. And I saw myself in a place where, I was in an alone state of mind. Though I had my husband and I knew I had my baby, I kind of felt like I didn't have that family to share information with. I didn't have that family I thought I should have. And so I'm like, what do I do with it? Oh my gosh, my daughter did this. I don't want to bother my husband because I just bothered him like 3 times. I'm not going to call the 4th one. So I'm going to tell Facebook. Anyway, I started to share the way I thought about my
stranger what's happening.
Yeah, like I started to share. I started to share what happened and how I felt about something, or how it affected me, or I just found it so adorable, and I had no one to say that to. So I'm just going to say it to Facebook. And then when I saw that they responded with not just a like, but they wrote back to me, and many had said, I feel like I feel like I'm with you when you're going through that, or I love the way you write. And I didn't even know anyone would love how I wrote. I didn't know. I just wanted to talk to somebody.
That's so funny.
And so it from there, actually.
You're really good.
Oh wow!
I mean that because I always tell you this. This is not ladies and gentlemen. This is not a show about just complimenting each other. I promise you. This. I mean it. You're really good. I really enjoy how you write because I'm a very visual person. So when I read your writing, it's like I feel like I'm in the room. Like I can see it. Like I can
yeah.
It's like I can even feel it. You did a project for me. You did a video for me recently, very recently. And what was my reaction? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
It was just like I felt it. I felt it in me because of the way that you express yourself. So I really, truly believe that you're a very good writer.
Well, I appreciate that so much. I think that, getting to a place where you're in this emotional deficit, I wanted someone to know how I felt and I wanted to take them there with me. And I can't bring them over to me. And this is the way to do things nowadays through the screen. And I've got friends, in low places and in high places. And so, people that are all over the country or even in the world. And it's like, how do I get you to feel what I'm feeling? Let me write it that way. And then, what it is I'm not really thinking a lot. Not that I don't have a brain. My brain does work. I just don't use that as much. I use my heart more. When I write from my heart, it goes into your heart. And that's how I operate. I like to operate from heart to heart more than mind to mind. So I think that it's been working, and I'm really grateful that I can do that. And I think that that's where I see really good stories are shared that become movies, that become, huge hits, because they take what's in their heart and then they bring this visualization to you. You can really get in that world. And then you have the creative science fiction. You have all these wonderful different stories that come through in the world. And, I give a lot of praise to those that are willing to learn to write. You should. It's never too late to write a story. And even if it's not a true story, you don't have to have a memoir. You don't have to have a story of your own that says something incredible. If you do, great, do it. If you don't, create one.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I believe in that. Let's create. But hey, I know we have a guest that he couldn't be with us today live, that is. So we had him record himself and answer a few questions, but he is a self-published author, and we will be coming back with that in
hold on, before you go, let me just
with that.
I'd like to introduce this before we just go right into the book and right into the recording, if you don't mind. So this is the author. His name is Jared Reed. He's a friend of mine. He's out there on the West Coast. So Jared, when you see this, hello, thank you for being a part of the show. And I'm sorry you can't be here live. I love the fact that he took a moment to put something together to share with us a little bit about his story, the writing and everything else, the power of writing rather. So I wanted to share with you the description of his book so that you understand where this is. The book is called Light Years Away. It is a science fiction book, and I kind of really dig. I'm kind of a nerd, but I love that, new creative thing that's out there. So this is what his book says is in the description, that you can find this book on Amazon. It says, meet the Allura, a faraway race of highly evolved beings that have the ability to physically embody other life forms. Ilana is given the choice to be born a human and live in human form for a lifetime. At her most desperate, devoid of happiness, she seizes the opportunity to change her life. Raised as a human being, she reaches a point of maturity, learning once again who and what she really is. She meets Shay, a unique and withdrawn artist who is a perfect match for her. Their experiences together open her mind to dangerous new proportions. Ilana's purpose finds her as she explores a new life on Earth. She holds the power of the universe in her head. She holds the light of the world in her hands.
Ooh.
I naturally am like, when will this be a movie? When can I go to the theaters and watch it? Because I don't mind reading. Reading is great, but I do love watching a great science fiction movie. So anyway, that is the description of the show. Book Light Years Away by Jared Reed. And here is Jared. Thank you so much for letting me get that intro over to you and everyone else. Let's see the video that he shared with us.
Yep.
Yep. Right now, he's very, very strongly telepathically talking to us because it's part of the sci-fi intro.
Here we go. Let me know if you can.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jared Reed, and I'm an author. And I'm so excited to be with you today on the Dolly and Anita DNA Authority. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. And I guess I got a few minutes here. I can chat with you guys a little bit about writing and the power of writing. and what writing means to me as an author. So I have a few questions here that Anita and Dolly sent to me to answer, and I'll take a few minutes to answer each one of these. But first, I just wanted to let you guys know that I just recently published my debut novel. It's my first book. It took a long time to get to this place, but here we are. We got a finished product. This is light years away. I'm a sci-fi nut and I'm a sci-fi author. And I wrote what was in my heart, and what came out was science fiction and adventure and fantasy and all those things that I love to read, you know? So this is light years away. You can pick it up on Kindle and Amazon. Just go on there and hit the search bar and type light years away, and you'll find that cover right there. Man, it's been a long time coming, you know. I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to be an artist, you know. I've always been an artist, and I've always wanted to write a book because I'm an avid reader, and I've been an avid reader since I was a kid. And I think the genre that clicked with me was science fiction, and the question that Anita gave me here was what influenced me to write science fiction. And a lot of that had to do with like my dad. You know, my dad was a Star Trek enthusiast. He was a Trekkie or a Trekker or whatever you want to say. And I think me and him connected with over that show, and he would always be reading a Star Trek book. You know, they had an extended universe with Star Trek, so it wasn't just the TV shows and the movies. It was also big, long novels. You know, and William Shatner, who plays Captain Kirk, would write books in that genre, and I was always fascinated by authors that would write in this medium, and science fiction is, it's just near and dear to my heart because, I'm a technical guy, and I appreciate fantasy as well. And science fiction is, it's just a big, broad subject. It's a broad topic, and it includes a lot of really new ideas and just fascinating ideas. And I think that's what inspires me to write science fiction, is like coming up with original ideas, and not even things that would be even possible in the real world, but who knows what will be possible in 100 years or 200 years. And that's kind of what I do. Science fiction is also been called speculative fiction, and I really connected to that term, speculative fiction, because it's even more broad than science fiction, and so I love science fiction, and I wanted to write a book a couple of years back, and I was mulling over a bunch of different ideas, and I was starting to write, and I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what I wanted to write, and I started writing some stuff, and I wasn't too sold on it. I wasn't too keen with what I was writing. And then I had to detach from that. I had to detach from, what I wanted and what I didn't want, and just write it. I just wanted to write it. And so I did, and what started coming out was science fiction. And I think sci-fi is really, it's just in my heart, and that's what comes out. And I think, for any writer, I think you really, really should write what's in your heart, and what comes out to me is just, so near and dear to my heart, and that's sci-fi. And so another question here is, who or what is your strongest inspiration to write? So my strongest inspiration to write, I think, is, the ability to connect with people. and to share ideas. I think connection is my strongest inspiration to write. Um, I think we live in a world right now where it's, we're feeling very disconnected, whether it's, through, the COVID thing, or, through technology. We're all talking to our screens at each other, and we feel very distanced. Uh, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to connect with people, um, through writing, and art, and communicate ideas and talk about like fascinating subjects, and and keep the conversation fresh and new. And I've always been an artist, and you know, an artist finds its medium, and I've definitely been across the spectrum of art. um, and I went to school for film and television and graphic design and motion media graphics, and I did acting, and I did writing, and I wrote for the screen. And I think through all that exploration, um, I found, through 7 years of toying around with ideas and what I really wanted to do with my life, it just came back to writing. It really did. Uh, I take the knowledge that from academic studies and studying the English language, um, and I put that pen to paper, and I make something, and I build something, and then I build ideas on top of ideas, and I take people on adventures with me, and through my imagination. It's like the imagination connection. Writing is definitely done that for me. And so I've been asked what are some practices that writers can do to help themselves through the writing process? This is something that I've honed this skill. Writing is definitely a skill, and it's something that you build, and that you exercise. I think creativity is like any other exercise. You really need to work out. Some things like meditation. Meditation has connected me with parts of myself that I didn't know I had, um, and it's allowed me to get quiet and get into the zone, because I really want to be in the flow. I want to be in the flow of life, um, and the flow of creativity. um, I journal. Well, I have a journal. This is my journal. This is not actually a journal. This is actually book 3 of my series that I'm writing, called The Traveler's Experience. My practice is to handwrite my book, the content of my book. Now, before I handwrite the actual content of my book, I create an outline, and I follow that outline as much as possible. And then I fill in the blanks with my content, you know.
That's awesome.
And so I take my time too, and I take my time with it. I'm very patient. I'm very, um, I don't know. I really just I take my time with it, and I try to be patient with myself, because it's not all the words don't always come. The words don't always come out of the pen and onto the paper.
Right.
But so something that worked for me over the past couple of years in writing books is to take the time, uh, every week. I take 2 days a week, and I write for a certain amount of time. It used to be on Saturdays and Sunday mornings. I would get up and I would go to the coffee shop, and I get a coffee and an apple fritter, and I'd sit down. And first, I would read something that is, what I love, and then I'd meditate a little bit, and then I get myself to a table and with my pen and my paper, and I'd just start writing. And no matter what I was doing, like I always knew like there was a couple hours that I want to spend on this. Um, and so that gave me enough room in my head during the week to handle my business, and then on Saturdays and Sunday mornings, I knew that that was my opportunity to be creative and practice my craft. And so I still do that. It's twice a week. Those days have changed. I write on different times of those days, but I definitely do it at least twice a week. I spend on my art, because art is important to me and writing is extremely important to me. I'm just so happy and thrilled to share some of these techniques with you because this is what worked for me and I got a finished product out of it. Look at, this took a year and a half to write it and probably another year to work out the kinks. And I edited this myself and I self-published through Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. And now I have a finished product and I'm so happy to share this with you today. And I'm so happy to be on the show. Thank you so much, Anita and Dolly, for having me on. It's quite an honor. And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye. Oh my God, I felt like I was talking to him.
I know.
Can I just have a minute? Can I just have a minute with this? Because it's like, that was so good. And I just love Jared. Oh my God, you have me just on. Oh my gosh, sorry. I don't know what you all thought. Yeah, there was a couple of audio drops. Thank you for letting us know about that. Nothing that we can do. These things happen. However, whatever stayed that we could hear, come on, right? Like, wasn't that great? Dolly, where are you? Did you leave? I think she left me. So this is, oh, you're back. Okay. I didn't know if you were gone. What did you think? Your audio is gone.
Okay, that's because I muted myself. And to all the wonderful listeners out there, obviously we are in the pandemic, so I'm working from home and I have a dog that's barking.
Oh, the dog. Okay.
So I'm trying to keep the noise to a minimum because of that. But I really enjoyed listening to him. You could tell, he really put his heart and soul into his writing. And I think that is so important. One of the things that he mentioned is write from your heart. And I think that you just cannot go wrong when you write from your heart. I think that that's the best type of writing that you can do. Interestingly enough, he chose sci-fi as his genre, right? For him to really focus on. But it didn't mean that just because that's what he chose to do, that he still couldn't write from what, from his creative soul. So I really appreciated and enjoyed that very much.
I wrote so many notes down because I do that, when I talk to people, I hear them share things. I tend to like mentally write a note, but this one I like wanted to make sure I wrote because I loved a lot of the things that he was talking about. So Jared, when you get a chance to watch this, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for sharing that time with us and sharing your way about things, what made you feel influenced. And the things that I heard that I wrote and that motivated me, it was, he talked about something that I'm going to look up now called speculative fiction. Obviously it's a broader term. So now I want to look into that. I think it's pretty interesting. And you never know, I wrote two things, which we could talk about later, which many of you already know, but those were just something that developed from my life. It wasn't something that was fiction, but I know that could, whatever I wrote today could lead to something that's fiction later. So I was actually being a student listening to what he had to say. Obviously, if you heard the parts that you could hear, which was most of it, he's had 7 years like looking at the entire spectrum of how we write and connect. And that was the other thing that I loved how he said it. There's a few things he said that I loved what he said, but when it comes to it, the ability to connect, that the fact that we are in a place that we should all understand this really well for being in this year of 2020, being disconnected in the way that we were usually connected. You know, we do have technology, and this is one way that we've all been, if you notice, all the shows out there, all the people out there, and even people that would normally go to events to speak out loud. Now we're using this vehicle, this virtual way of talking. But the point was to connect. He talked about taking the pen to paper and building something. Like, I just love the way he said that, because I could see that, you know, when you don't really think about what writing can do, that's powerful. You build with this, with a pen and paper. You know, that's almost sounds like I'm talking like MacGyver. If he can do, I don't know if anyone knows MacGyver. If you don't, look it up. This guy can take
MacGyver.
yeah, he can take this. This is a character, a fictional character, who can take like a paper clip and a piece of gum and somehow detonate a bomb. Like, you know, the guy's just, you know, it's so funny. But the point is that you can take pen to paper and build someone's future. You could build so much out of it. And then I just was really amazed that he showed us his journal, but it was actually his book, that he hand writes his book. That's so fantastic to me, that he literally does that, and then it translates into the book that we all get to purchase and read. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. If not, go back and watch it again. That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
That was really good. One of the things that I actually wrote down that he said is, an artist finds his medium, and he considers himself an artist, and he had experience in other mediums per se, but it was this one that really spoke to him. So it's funny because, you know, I know, for example, I'm very creative. In there's so many things that I do. I'm very creative, but then when it comes to publishing my own books, I can be very creative as well. I never thought of myself as an artist. I just consider myself as a writer. I consider myself as an author. I consider myself a publisher. Never an artist.
Well, maybe you'll start thinking differently now.
Maybe
you start adding that into your resume repertoire, whatever you call it. Yeah, that's, you know, that is, he came from, you know, the arts and entertainment world, and this is part of it. Writing is definitely an art of getting a message across, and the different ways we can do it. And I loved that he was so authentic in how he shared it. You could tell his joy. Did you see that? Like, that joy he had. He's like, look at it. Look at my new book. I know the feeling. I'm with you, Jared. 150. Every time a new book comes along, you get excited. But, you know, this is his first. I almost had tears in my eyes for him because I was so happy for him. I've known him for a while. I didn't know that this was really important to him. And you might, all that's watching, you might have that feeling too. Like, I really want to do it. And instead of saying, but I don't think, maybe hearing what he said and seeing, you know, even in the slightest moment, you saw the excitement he had, that it's there in his hands, and now it's out to the world. And the story is a really good story. It's very good. I had already read it.
Well, you know what, Anita, I will tell you this, because first of all, as an author, I got super excited every single time I received one of my books in the mail. They were finally published, and I got them, and I got to hold them. And what I kept thinking about was, it was here, and now it's here in my head. Right. It was all in my head, and now it's here. And this is a product I created. This is something I can now hold. And it was my baby. It was every single one became my new baby. So now I have 4 babies, you know? Yeah. And then now, like for you, when your book was done, The Undercover Superhero, oh my God.
Right.
I celebrated that like if it was my baby too, because I remember I received them. Remember, I shipped them to my house.
Right.
And then I gave them to you. And it was like such an experience. I was so excited to open the boxes. And I know that excitement. And if any of you out there are listening to this and you have ever considered or thought about writing a book, whether it be with Rose Gold Publishing or anyone else, it doesn't matter.
Or on your own, yeah.
Or on your own as a self-published author. I promise you that when you get that baby in your hand, it is going to be a true celebration for you, because I know it was for you, Anita. And
she's not kidding. She's not kidding. This is really, this is a cathartic experience, and that you probably don't even know that this is what you're going to feel. But when you take the things that are in your heart, you know, with what I do, I tend to tell people that when I hear it coming from them, that there are people that hoard memories, that hoard feelings. I'm talking about hoarding.
Yep.
You're collecting and you're keeping it there, and you're keeping it there. The negative things, the awful things, the years, the shameful things, the things that you just feel like society, I don't want people to know this part of me or what I've done or what happened to me. These are all hoarding. And then eventually when you finally say to yourself, even for me, to discuss some of the things I discussed in the book that I wrote was very difficult. To sit there and say, okay, now I shall let everybody know my business. That's hard to do. And so when you finally, it's almost like when I mentioned the concept of hoarding, when you have things in your home, you might not be a hoarder per se, but you keep a lot of stuff that you don't need to keep. And you finally say, you know what, this is the day. This is the day I'm going to get rid of everything. So when you finally go through everything, there's that moment when it's done and you look back in your room or your closet or your drawers or your garage or your basement or wherever, and you kind of go, why did that? Look at this. And now you start feeling free. And now you start moving forward. And now you start putting new, hopefully better things in your life that you should have in your life. And that happens with writing, because now you're dispensing the things that you don't need to talk about, in terms of you're writing everything out.
Yep.
And then eventually you pare it down to the most important things that you've had in your system. And once it's in that book, now you're giving it to others. These are valued, treasured things, actually, that you're giving to others with explanations and all that. And when that book showed up, I didn't even know what to do with myself, because I had nervousness, I had insecurities. Like, I had a lot of different feelings. I hope people like what they read. This is my first book. I can't believe this is mine. I don't believe I did this. But then after that happened, I started getting really excited. And then after that happened, I started wanting to do more. I started feeling free. And that's important.
I see another one there.
Yeah, no, right. That happened. The second book, which I believe, from whatever I'm hearing from people, and it all depends on the market, the need, the moment. And if any of you have no idea what I'm talking about, that book below right there in black and white, I can't, this is reverse. Okay.
Right
Black and white right there. That's The Undercover Superhero. That's a book about if you are someone who has been in the shadows of emotional abusers, learning what it takes to get out of that and to be in your own powerful light. So I lived in the world of emotional abusers, and I identify them through this book. And then I identify everything that took place in 4 different perspectives: as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, and then finally the adult, the woman that I am, the young adult that I was before. So the 4 areas of what we talk about, that final one is about me looking at everything that I saw and where I am today and where I approach things going through the rest of my life and how I do it now. So this is all through my experience, through my education, through the things that I have seen that I know works, the strategies that take place. And so when knowing that this is a book about emotional abuse, like, do I want anyone to know that I had to deal with emotional abuse? Not really. Not really. Who wants to talk about that? Who wants to talk about the things that happen that are really awful in your life? But over the years, I've gotten to the point where I've healed. I've healed so much. And I know the strategies that it takes to not let those things bother me so much. And I tend to speak in a happy place. I'm coming from a happy place. And that took a lot of rebuilding and reinforcing of some things. So I thought it was important to share this information. And seeing the reaction that came back really blew my mind. I did not know what I know now about how the market that did see it, how they reacted, and how important it was for me to get that out. It is so important. And I hope if you haven't seen it, if you haven't read it yet, please read it. I know some of you are looking for the audiobook version, and one day I will do that. But right now you can go ahead and purchase the book, read to the best of your ability. It's an easy read. Then what ended up happening, as Dali was mentioning, is I finished the book. I really felt a sense of power that had me sit up a little bit more straight in my world. And then the purpose became stronger. And the next thing that just showed up, and honestly, it showed up within a drive from one location to another, was Hearts Do Matter. And that's a book that deals with loss and taking the grief that you go through, because everybody goes through their grief when you lose somebody special to you that you love so dearly. I've lost my mom and I've lost my father. and I'm an only child, and I don't have a whole bunch of family at all coming around to see how I'm doing. It's just me and my husband and my daughter. We call ourselves the three little birds. And to be able to cope with that loss, the first one, which is my mother, and she was the tightest relationship that I had in my life. And to cope with it, to go from where I was to where I am today, took some work, took some introspection. And I felt that the kind of book I can give can be an illustrated book that can be appealing for all ages. So it looks like it can just be a kid's book, but everyone has a child's heart, in my opinion. So I put together this wonderful book, and I say it's wonderful because it's a tribute to my mother. So even if someone doesn't like it, I really don't care. I love the book. But I have had a lot of good reaction to it. I've had a lot of good reaction to it. It does take you from grief to gratitude, from loss to love. And that was the whole purpose of that. And I'm really happy about it.
If I can add something to that, one of the things that I often say is when it comes to writing your story, regardless of what that story looks like, that story no longer is about you. It may be your story, but it's no longer about you. If you're truly interested in writing it and sharing it, it's because there is an intention behind it. And that intention is usually so that you can change someone else's life, so you can improve them, so you can impact them in one way, shape, form. So, I applaud you because both books were difficult books. They were difficult books. And
yeah, I always go to the difficult things. And I think I'll be doing that for a while because that's where that's where we all meet. I think that's the playground or the place that we all can come together when something goes wrong.
Well,
so
that's why I'm successful in my company. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, isn't that what I do? It's just focusing on unfortunately on these difficult life experiences that people continue to have and have had for many years. Many, they have tried to forget about them, and their time has come, but it's time for them to let it out. So,
right.
Yeah.
I was going to say that going back to what Jared shared, I still have my notes. So I was just going to say that, he talked about some of the things, I'm going to call it a routine. He had a routine. And sometimes routines, like for my sake, what happened when it did. And I just went with the flow. Once I got, this illustrated book, the poem just showed up in the drive, and I recorded it. I hit the record voice to text, and I recorded the poem as it showed up. And that became the book. With other people, they have an intention. They're going to start writing. They're going to open up that laptop or open up that journal and actually start writing. And I want to tell you, I want to kind of reiterate something that he shared. The fact that he created a routine is important. If this is important, if the message is important to share, if you really want to get something out there, whether it's for anybody else or really just for you, then create a routine. Add this into your day. And for him, he picked 2 days out of the week to be able to just kind of dedicate to writing. Think about the things you see in movies where writers like go away to this beautiful cottage overlooking the mountains and they write. Well, that makes sense. If we could do that, great. For me, I feel very fortunate. I've moved into a location where I get to look out and see some nature. And it does help me. I get it. The point is to focus. And so for someone like Jared, he picked 2 days that he was going to focus on writing, and then he was going to write. He also talked about meditation. And again, if someone's sitting there rolling their eyes like, oh, here we go with the meditation again. The thing is that this is about your brain and letting your brain open doors so that you can go and like frolic in the field of imagination, allow new information to come through you. And we get so cluttered with so much information outside now more than ever, because we're all being busy with a ton of things coming at us. So when you take a moment to meditate, it's just about sitting quiet and just letting your brain chill out. And then it all of a sudden opens space to what is it that you want to say? The thought that comes through you might not be what you intended, but you just kind of write it down. The last thing I think I remember when I wrote this down was he detached from what he wouldn't want and shouldn't want. Like he talked about detaching. Sometimes you feel so like you have to do it this way. It's the right thing to do, pardon the pun. But if you can just let all of that go, kind of in being synonymous to meditation, but the idea is detaching yourself from all of those things that don't really serve you, and just stay focused on the track that you want to stay on. And the last thing I remember was I had written down the movie Minority Report. If anyone remembers this movie from way back when, look it up. It's just Google it. It's called Minority Report. But here's the thing. He talked about building, taking pen to paper and building. And then also you just don't even know what's going to happen 100 years from now and whatnot. And I've mentioned this before in another show some time ago, but that movie just got me. It's a science fiction movie. It's awesome. It has Tom Cruise in it, and it really deals with all the futuristic things that can happen and like the dystopian life that takes place with precogs and all sorts of cool stuff. And the point of it is that I once upon a time used to work in the insurance industry, and I went to a company that was a factory, and they were doing all sorts of like, the factory was all about technological upgrades of all sorts. And there was this magazine while I was sitting in the lobby and waiting, and this magazine was explaining the movie Minority Report, that so much of the movie had just come out, or maybe it was a year old, but it was saying how that movie, this is already in the works. Whatever we saw in Minority Report is already in the works. It's already been worked on, and you're going to start seeing these things come to life. And sure enough, this is the time when we were using Blackberries and pagers and all that. And, you saw in a Minority Report, how they have all these, what's the word? That I can't tell you the word. Well, I'll just go with the cell phone. Okay. The smartphone, to be able to move pictures across and email and do the things that we're doing seemed unheard of before. And holographic is the thing I wanted to say. The holographic nature of moving things right in front of you, having those types of things, they're all in the works. And the fact is that you first create through your imagination, and then the human beings of the world that are so cool and high tech, they find a way to make that come to life. And I think it's pretty cool.
I think that's really cool. I remember seeing the movie Minority Report, but it's a fog.
Watch it again. I mean, I don't think it could be, I don't think it's like an outdated thing. I think you could truly enjoy the movie if you're into sci-fi. I liked it. I don't know if anyone here knows of a movie that came from a book. I'm sure you do. A science fiction movie that came from a book. Of course, there's some horror movies that came from a book I know of. But, when I saw Minority Report, it was, part scary and freaky and creepy and part amazing. And to know that some of those things could come to life, and it actually has, and it's still going on. That seems to be the movie that set the stone, set the technological advancements in stone, because when I saw what I saw, I was fascinated that could even be an idea. What an imagination, what a vast imagination. And then it started showing up, and I kind of went, oh my God.
Well, so everyone, for those that are still out there, the amazing Anita Meyer's Powers is not done. She has more projects on her way. I'm excited to say that, and I'm looking forward to those continued projects, Anita, to come out, because you're really good, and I think it's going to be an amazing step.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I thank you, and I really, if I could use this show about the power of writing to say anything to anybody, I would just say, you don't need to contain the information you have in your system anymore. You should just write. And even if it doesn't turn into being a book because you don't want it to, just get it out. Get the information out. Writing, the point of this show is not about publishing a book. Those are just the winnings and the victories that come from writing. But the power is just writing.
Yeah.
Getting the information out. If you want to get it out, and this is the end of the year, you had a really crappy year. Besides it being 2020, other things took place. Write it out, and then do those ritualistic things that I know many people do, where they just get a bonfire, get a bunch of people that they really care about, or just on your own, as long as it's safe, and take all that you wrote that really disgusts you, makes you mad, maybe parts of yourself that you don't want to see act that way again, or all of the ugly of it.
Well,
Get it out, and then put it in the fire and let it burn.
Yeah, and if I could also share, I just launched a Right to Heal online course for those individuals that really, truly need to heal. And I am proud of this course. I really thought about how it can be general enough, but yet intentional enough to really make a difference in people's lives. And it's for those of you that may be interested in getting it, that's the email for it, the website for it. It's ourrighttoheal.com. But it's really a course about helping you heal through writing. It's not about becoming a published author, but I think that once you heal, you find peace. Once you find peace, you find happiness. And isn't that ultimately what everybody wants?
Yeah, and you do have it, but it's buried under all that gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook. Exactly. Well, Anita Myers-Powers, with that being said, I will be seeing you next week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us again today at the DNA Authority. We really sincerely appreciate you. Anita, I appreciate you. And I hope that we continue to stay healthy. The same for all of our viewers. With that being said, have a great one.
Bye.